As a tier one telco, we are often seen as a very large enterprise with processes that cut across different organizational constructs to achieve simple business outcomes, be it introduction of service or a new kit into the network. Now, our problem or the challenges that we have are multidimensional in nature. On one hand, we have to proactively address the ever increasing network demand, be it 5G or IoT or any new use case. It could be, for example, the pandemic created a new situation for us to keep the networks up to date. And we also have to look at it from the other aspect, which is the network evolution. How do we future proof our networks, given that we are moving into a world of hybrid networks, be it physical or virtual, or for that matter, fixed mobile convergence in future. So now that doesn't take away the joy of managing the legacy systems and the networks that it underpins, as well as the long winding manual processes that we have to live with. So needless to say, yeah, we also have to remain very optimal when it comes to managing the networks operationally, be it planning, provisioning, or assuring the networks. So in effect, I would say network evolution, new ways of working, as well as attacking the legacy networks plus network automation. 18 to 20 months ago, we embarked on this digital transformation journey, and we had an eye on network automation and new ways of working, which we call as NetOps, which is nothing but a self-service way, which allows planners and designers to, model kits and devices and services on the network all by themselves without the intervention of IT teams or the software engineering teams, as you call it. Now, that that along with future proofing the network as to how do you then introduce something new that comes in tomorrow. So all these aspects is what we looked at. And I have to say, when it comes to automation, we are now able to save 70% of our planning journeys have we are able to save 70% of our automation journeys from a network planning point of view. Not only does it automate, but it also allows us to avoid a lot of reworks and planning failures that otherwise would happen if it was a manual journey. Now, that along with that, NetOps enabled us to really reduce the time to market from many months to possibly weeks and if not days when it comes to introduction of new services and products onto the network. Clearly, this all goes without saying that the automation and the transformation journey that we embarked really helped us look at our planners and designers move from low valued mundane jobs to some high valued insight giving jobs. When we started this journey, we were very clear not to look at what is the best tool in the market as a first point. What we did was we clearly recognized that this is something that cuts across organizational structures. So one of the first things that we did was to mix the network teams and the IT teams and make them as one team so that they share a common goal. And that would mean that we started working in an agile fashion. For example, you can imagine an agile squad with a network planner or a designer being a product owner and the software engineers rallying around to deliver things in sprints. What it eventually meant was it involved the hearts and minds of both the teams and the overarchingly larger teams across the organization. So that was our primary aspect that we looked into. So we looked into the aspects of people, process, and eventually the tools, which all three culminated into a culture change, which drove some new ways of working, I should say. And that's something that is very, very unique for us because remember, in a large organization, legacy can drag you down. What we did was to take the users of the tools along the journey, which meant that we started building the trust. As an example, when we did the automation, we didn't go from step 1 to 100 in one go. We took them in phases whereby we had possibly one touch automations to start with. We allow the planners and the designers to start trusting the tool and eventually moving it to a zero touch where once they're comfortable with the tool and the insights that it shows, we then move into an automation, and that too more in a self-service mode where the planners can define their rules on the go and introduce the concepts of DevOps, which is introducing the CI/CD concepts into the network planning and the designing world. We call it NetOps, and that was quite revealing because it allowed us to start thinking. as a software engineer, can somebody aspire to become a network engineer? And the same goes the other way. The network engineers started thinking like software engineers because they were the ones who were introducing the change onto the systems and the tools and the network. We participated in some of the catalyst programs and various other forums and events of TMF, which exposed us to some of the industry standards. Now, our solution not only boasts of some of the key artifacts that TMF provides, including the TMF SID data model. We also use the open APIs to integrate the network resources and services with our consuming applications not bound. But eventually, it also allowed us to learn from other players across the globe, and eventually helped us to contribute back into TMF on the data model as well. So clearly, there's a lot to learn as we move across this journey, and as well as to share with the others. So it's a great experience overall for us from TMF point of view.